The creation, a biblical portrait. The creation account in Genesis 1 and 2 presents the majestic beginning of all things, the deliberate, ordered, and purposeful act of a sovereign God who brings the universe into existence by His word. In its poetic rhythm and profound simplicity, the biblical creation narrative unveils the origin of the world not as a random event or cosmic accident, but as a divine masterpiece carefully crafted by an all-powerful, all-wise Creator. The story begins with stunning directness. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. This opening line is not merely a historical statement but a theological declaration. It asserts that before time, space, or matter existed, God was. He is eternal, self-existent, and the source of all reality. The Hebrew word for create, bara, is used uniquely for divine activity, emphasizing that only God can bring something out of nothing. At first, the earth is described as formless and void. Genesis 1:2, a chaotic, unshaped mass, cloaked in darkness. Yet, even in this primordial state, the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. This image is one of anticipation and potential, as if the Creator is preparing to bring order, beauty, and purpose to what is yet unfinished. Then God speaks, "Let there be light," Genesis 1:3. With these words, the cosmos is set into motion. Light pierces the darkness and the rhythm of creation begins. Over 6 days, God forms and fills the universe in an orderly, structured progression. The first 3 days focus on forming the environment, light and darkness, sky and sea, land and vegetation. The next 3 days focus on filling what was formed, with the sun, moon, and stars, birds and sea creatures, land animals, and finally, humankind. Each act of creation is introduced by the divine phrase, "And God said," showing that God creates not through struggle or labor but through sovereign command. His word is powerful and effective, and after each creative act, God evaluates His work, declaring it good, a refrain that affirms the inherent goodness of the material world. On the 6th day, after the creation of mankind, the verdict is elevated. God saw everything that He had made, and behold, it was very good. Genesis 1:31. The pinnacle of creation is humanity. In Genesis 1:26-27, God says, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." This divine counsel, possibly a hint at the Trinitarian nature of God, precedes the creation of male and female in His image. Unlike the rest of creation, which was made according to its kind, human beings bear the image of God, the Imago Dei. This gives humanity unique dignity, value, and purpose. Humans are created to reflect God's character, exercise stewardship over the earth, and live in relationship with Him and with one another. Genesis 2 expands and deepens the account by focusing specifically on the creation of man and woman. Here, the narrative becomes more intimate and personal. God forms Adam from the dust of the ground and breathes into him the breath of life. Genesis 2:7. The first human becomes a living being not just through biology, but through the very breath of God, showing that life is both physical and spiritual. God places Adam in the Garden of Eden, a paradise of beauty, provision, and purpose. There, Adam is given work, to tend and keep the garden, and a command. He may eat from every tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This introduces moral freedom and responsibility. God also recognizes that it is not good for man to be alone, and from Adam's side, He creates Eve, a partner equal in dignity and complementary in role. Adam's response is poetic and joyful. "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Genesis 2:23. The chapter concludes with a picture of perfect unity. The man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. Genesis 2:25. There is no fear, no shame, no sin, only peace, purpose, and the presence of God. This is creation as it was meant to be. Humanity in harmonious relationship with God, with one another, and with the world. The biblical portrait of creation, then, is not merely an origin story. It is a declaration of God's character and intentions. It reveals a God who is creative, powerful, good, and relational. The cosmos is not divine, but it is sacred because it was made by God and for God. Human beings are not random accidents of evolution, but divine image bearers with meaning and responsibility. The world is not a battlefield of gods and chaos, but a home designed with order, beauty, and purpose. Even more, the creation story sets the stage for everything that follows in Scripture. It provides the framework for understanding sin, redemption, and restoration. When humanity falls in Genesis 3, it is a rupture of this perfect beginning, but not the end. The same God who created the heavens and the earth begins his work of redemption, promising to one day restore what was lost. In the final chapters of the Bible, in Revelation 21:22, we see a vision of a new heaven and new earth, where God dwells again with his people, and the tree of life reappears. The story that began with "In the beginning, God created" finds its fulfillment in a renewed creation, because the Creator is also the Redeemer.